We've planned this day exactly for you to have a chance to explore and discover the uncountable number of opportunities that logosynthesis offers. Logosynthesis is full of possibilities, whether you're a person seeking healing and development, or whether you're a professional in healing and development seeking for a model that allows for effortless, deep, long lasting change. And it's my mission today as your chair, the conference chair, to walk with you through this conference so that you can discover these opportunities and get the answer you're looking for. So, having said that, I'd like to also welcome to our conference Kathy Caswells Schenkel, who is also the co-creator of this conference. So, have a big thank you, Kathy, for all your hard work. This conference could not have been possible without you. And of course, we'll have a long list of speakers who are here to join us today, one by one of them. And you'll have plenty of chances to ask all the questions you have. And I'm really curious about why you'd like to join this, why you're here in this conference, what would motivate you to come. So why don't you just go ahead once again to the chat box and tell us why you're here? What got you curious to join this conference? I'd like to know that. Let's start there. Healing, celebrate, yes. Why else are you here? So as your conference chair, it's my job to walk with you through this conference. And it's my job to make sure that you know where you're going to get what you're looking for. So now by knowing you'd like to celebrate and party, for some of you, there's the last session of the day who's about celebration. It's about celebration of us as a community, our achievements and contributions throughout the year, right? If it's about meeting people, you'll get enough chance to meet people through the chat box, but also through the conference and the speakers. And not just here, but outside the conference. There's a Facebook group you can always go back to, and we're always ready to welcome you and get to know you and share with you whatever we have from our vast amount of possibilities in logosynthesis. News, inspiration, I'm curious, discovering, yes. There's going to be a specific chat about therapy and logosynthesis. So if you're looking for information on how logosynthesis can be applied in therapy, you'll get there. Develop skills, working with logosynthesis, fantastic inspiration. You'll get a lot of stories today. Many of our speakers are ready to share stories, to share case studies, share inspiration, hear your own insights. So you'll get to learn a lot from that. And not just as a therapist, if you're working in therapy, but as a person, or if you're working in coaching or personal development. So there's plenty of that as well. Wow, fantastic. Quest for my mission, logosynthesis and coaching, learn, international meeting. Yes, yes, we're all coming from all across the globe today. Great. So, what else do we have here before we start? Yes, the session is recorded. Just for you to know, we're recording the session. The output of this session will be posted later on YouTube. So we'll be posting session by session on YouTube later if you'd like to see it again. It's going to be free and public. The only part of the conference that we will not be sharing with you all is going to be the live demo, but for privacy reasons. So besides that, you will get everything after the conference. You'll receive a mail. Kathy will be sending you information about it. And if the speakers share any kind of information or handout or presentation they'd like to share with you, you'll also receive it after the conference. So worry not about that. Good. Good. So I have something for you. Why don't we start by reviewing the agenda to see what we're going to focus on throughout the day together. So this is the agenda for the day. It's going to be a beautiful journey together. Right now, we're at the opening. It's 3 p.m. in Europe. And we're talking about what is it you'd like to get from the conference and where you will get it in the conference. Right after we finish this reviewing the agenda, we'll move on directly on to experiencing. Pamela Burkhalter will offer you an experience on logosynthesis. You'll get the chance to experience firsthand what logosynthesis is and how it helps people, whether heal, develop, or learn. It has multiple applications, but Pamela will make sure that you get a good grasp on the basics of this. But afterwards, we'll have the logosynthesis journey, which is about you exploring what opportunities logosynthesis offers you, whether it's through the training to become a practitioner, whether it's working one-on-one with somebody who can support you on your journey, or the books, or there are many, many opportunities in the community. So we'll make sure you get access to them and It's going to be Christian Anerud and Angelica von Holvatus who are going to talk about this and share with you the details. Afterwards, at 5:30, oh, I'm sorry, after Logosynthesis Journal, we'll have a small break of 10 minutes. Now, we know that this is a packed agenda, and you may have the need to go away for a moment, so you may go away anytime. You may just turn your camera off and then return when you're ready to return. And we'll specifically have a break of 10 minutes after the Logosynthesis journey, which is 10 minutes before 5 p.m. Afterwards, we'll have the panels. We'll have 4 presentations here by our wonderful trainers, master practitioners, and practitioners. And we'll have 4 of them today. The first one is going to be about coaching, the applications of logosynthesis in coaching, and why our experts prefer logosynthesis when working with people in a coaching environment. So whether you're looking to make a transition in life or whether you're experiencing limitations, you will explore here how logosynthesis may help in this arena. Oh, thank you, Pamela. Pamela is informing us that if you're not familiar with Zoom, you can change the view at the top right of your screen. With the speaker view, you will also see the shared screen in full size. Thank you, Pamela. That's good information. Now, also afterwards at 6 p.m., we'll have a talk between Shanda Wooden and Tina Bonchina, who are psychotherapists, and they will be discussing how logosynthesis can be applied in healing trauma. So we go from trauma to liberation. And if every session is going to be moderated, the previous session we were having Natasha Jones moderating. In this trauma section, it'll be moderated by Carol Milani. Afterwards, we'll move on to how is logosynthesis applied in personal development. Now, every one of us as adults are on a journey of fulfilling our mission in this lifetime, but sometimes as adults we face blockages. Now, we're going to explore here how logosynthesis can help you remove blockages on the way of your mission this lifetime, or whether discovering maybe. Sometimes we're not aware of our mission this lifetime, so logosynthesis can also offer you that. And afterwards, this session will be moderated by, given by Astrid Klein Langsthorst and Kathy Caswell, and it'll be moderated by Monica Kola. And finally, we'll move on to the section of children and parents, where Miriam Nordeman and Matthias Ega are going to discuss how logosynthesis can be applied to resolve blockages when working with children and parents, or whether you're a parent who are experiencing a blockage, you may discuss here how logosynthesis may help you. This section will be moderated by Kuljit Khan. Then, last but not least, I've told you that throughout the conference you can share your questions, so we'll have a specific section for you to get answers. And we have invited here 3 of our senior experts to join you in exploring the answers to your questions. This open question and answer session will be delivered by Mary O'Donoghue, Lori Wise, and Trish North. And together, these 3 experts are going to offer their perspectives on the questions you have. This session will be moderated by Harriet Anderson. After that, we have a small break. You might want to grab something fast, or a sandwich, or to have some water. Whatever the case, we'll give a brief 15-minute break. And afterwards, we'll come back and we'll join together Dr. Willem Lammers and Alan O'Donoghue to discuss what is the state of the art in logosynthesis. Now, 2020 has been, let's call it a unique year, full of challenges, but also full of opportunities. And the logosynthesis community has been really productive. We're a thriving community. And this past year, there has been a lot of creations and achievements and contributions. And in this section, we'll discuss exactly that, what has happened throughout this year, but also where we're coming from with the past of logosynthesis. We're celebrating today the 16th birthday of logosynthesis. We've existed in the world for 16 years. There's much that has happened before in the past of logosynthesis, and Dr. Willem Lammers is going to offer us perspective on that, but also about the future of logosynthesis, where we're going next, what's going to happen next. And this interview is going to be handled by Alan O'Donoghue, and moderation is going to be supported by Harriet Anderson. And last but not least, this is the last session of the day is a celebration session. Now, throughout the years, as I said, there has been many contributions and achievements, and would like to celebrate that as a community. And this will be handled by Monica Cola in representation of the Logosynthesis International Association. So that's that to begin with. And before we move on, I'd like to know, is there a question so far about the agenda? Or is there a question you have so far about the conference? I'm seeing some heads shaking no. If you have a question, you may place it right now in the chat box. Good. Okay, I guess there are no more questions. So before moving on, oh yes, throughout the day, as I said, you will be asked to place your question in the chat box, and we'll be eventually reminding you on how to do it. We'll just drop a small message and reminding you to turn off your mics. So that's pretty much it from my side. I'm very excited what's going on, and I'd not like to delay the conference as it is. Pamela, I give you the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, now I offer you to the session of Pamela Burkhalter, who is going to discuss with us what is logosynthesis and how logosynthesis helps people heal and develop in this lifetime. Thank you, Pamela.
Thank you, Alan. A little sooner than I expected. So, you know, this is typical of reality. As we know it changes all the time. So a warm welcome from me to everyone. I am calling in from Switzerland. The session, let me share slides here. And can you all hear me okay? Great. Okay, so let me share slides here. I removed the sound of people coming in and going, by the way, Alan, and just so as I was distracting a little. Okay, so let me know if you can see my screen. I'll put it on full slide. You can all see it. All right, great. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually introduce myself before I share what's going to happen over the next 80 minutes or so. So my name is Pamela Ann Burkhalter. I am half Swiss, half Hong Kong Chinese, and I'm based in Switzerland. That's where I'm dialing in from. And in terms of background, I'm originally a lawyer, so probably not typical for this group. And my life has been pretty much a zigzag. And in fact, you know, I was thinking today about how to introduce myself, and I would call myself a bit of a headbanger. What I mean by that is it's not been a straight line, and most people's lives I've known are not straight lines. And so I started off as a lawyer and went into reinsurance, and about 20 years ago, I decided to run my own business in coaching, and beginning with life coaching, executive coaching, leadership coaching. And so life I see life as not a straight line for most people, especially for myself. And the head banging was literally banging my head into walls, because sometimes I didn't, you know, it took the banging into the walls in order to move on to the right place. So that's a pretty painful process. But it's led me to where I am, and I'm a big believer in life leading me versus, you know, there's planning you can do, but life leads, and the important thing is to work with reality. And I discovered logosynthesis something like 12 years ago, in my early days, so to speak, or the early days of logosynthesis, when I know Willem from way back when. And in my work with executives, and worked with hundreds of people in my own work, everybody has a rucksack. I don't know anybody who does not have a rucksack of stories. And I'm a big, not just believer, and absolutely convinced that in leadership, and in self-work, and so I do self-work, personal work, interpersonal work, leadership, it all begins with the self. And if we look around the world and what's going on, not just these days, but all the time, at the end of the day, we begin with ourselves. And so I'm actually here today because, for several reasons, because I never intended to be a trainer. I actually just did logosynthesis for myself and work with clients in the corporate world. So the corporate world is my playing field. And I ended up as a trainer simply for several reasons, because of I would use the word, it's actually spiritual development. It is, you get to the core. It's got a depth which other methods has not had for me. I've trained in a number of methodologies, and logosynthesis offers a depth, and it continues to develop. So it really is a development process, and it's like peeling the onion, or what we call slicing the salami. And the good news is it never stops, and that's also, you could say, the bad news, but it gets easier over time. I don't think I'd be in this place. I know for sure I would not be in this place if it were not for logosynthesis. When I say this place, I don't mean as a trainer, but as a person, having cleaned, someone who's using the word, Annie Reynolds from Australia was using the word deep cleaning, and I see logosynthesis as a deep cleaning process, and it's helped my clients, it's helped myself in setting boundaries in all aspects of life. So the other part is the applicability of logosynthesis is enormous. So I'm a coach, and as you'll be hearing from other speakers, as Alan mentioned before, you'll be hearing from people who work as therapists and with trauma, et cetera, but it's the applicability as well as the sustainability. And the fact that it's developing, and Willem is developing, and the logosynthesis continues to develop. I am not the copy paste type of person. I'm not very good at that at all. The fact that it is a continuous process is one of the beauties. So that's a little bit about myself. What I'd like to share here on the screen is something I prepared, and I'll take you through this. Just a little bit of introduction. I'm going to walk you through what's going to happen over the next 75 minutes or so now, depending. I'm first going to introduce a little bit of what I'm calling a mini theory. And it's truly a mini theory because Kristen is going to walk you through the training process of self-coaching, et cetera, et cetera. So the mini theory is really intended as a basis for those of you who are not familiar with logosynthesis in terms of the absolute key characteristics. Just to give you a mini introduction, but it's a whole lot more to it than that. But it's a very important foundation based on which logosynthesis works. So I'll walk you through that. And then we're going to do a group demo exercise where I'm going to invite everybody to participate. All you need to do is be here and have some water. That would be ideal as well. After that, that'll be about 15 minutes roughly. After that, I have found a volunteer to work with me and offer a live demo. That's the part that's not going to be recorded. And that'll take between 30 and 40 minutes, followed by a Q&A. Okay, so that's just to give you an idea of where we're heading here. So that is supposed to indicate all of you, very diverse group of people in the group demo taking part. Okie dokie, let's move on. And Alan, please just interrupt me anytime, or anybody interrupt me anytime if I'm not watching out for time. I'm trying to, but we're in this together. And I have to say, another reason I'm here is that this is a really fantastic and very supportive and loving community. That's truly special too. Okay, let me get the slide to move on. All right, so the key principles of logosynthesis in an absolute nutshell. First one. So from the logosynthesis perspective, everything is considered energy. So our physical being, our cells, the mind, information, our thoughts, everything is considered energy. So this is one of the absolute foundations built on which logosynthesis built on. So everything is considered energy. All right, and many of you will know this, or perhaps you even come from a field of energy work. So that's the basis we work with. The second one is energy is either in flow or it's not. And when it's not, we refer to it often as stuck or bound or frozen. And you'll know this, when energy is in flow, everything's flowing. You feel free, things move. Now I'm half Chinese, and when I come from the Chinese medicine, those of you familiar with that, we talk about stagnation and free flow of energy. So in logosynthesis, the absolute basic is Energy is either in flow or it's not. And that's what we're paying attention to. So the other beauty that I love about logosynthesis is when we work with it, Willem likes to say we are as guides to be stupid, lazy, and slow. What that means is we don't need to label things. We don't need to analyze things with our minds. We're just looking out for where is the energy bound and where is it in flow. And that's, as guides, that's what we're looking out for all the time. So you're not in your mind doing mind gymnastics, but simply paying close attention to your clients and where they are and where their attention, where is the energy bound. So that's the second principle. The third one, energy belongs in the right place, which means that, and those of you who are familiar with the sentences will recognize, you retrieve energy and take it to the right place in yourself, or it belongs somewhere else. And the other beauty about logosynthesis, and I love, is you do not need to know where this right place is. You do not need to know when you're removing energy where it's going to, but energy belongs in its right place. And that's one of the principles. And again, you do not need to know a lot, but you're paying attention to, when you're working with clients, to what they're saying in order to address it. Fourth, but not last but not least, words move energy. And this is ancient wisdom across cultures. I'm assuming for a moment that everybody would be familiar with this. So abracadabra, words move energies, fiat lux. There's vibrations, but the intentions of words. And one of the interesting things that we've learned over time too is, because we are such an international community, is it doesn't even matter which language you work in. And even if people don't always understand the words, it works because words move energy. So these are the very basic but very fundamental principles built on which logosynthesis is founded. So, and I'd like to say something here because it felt really awkward to me that I'm doing this introductory part and that I'm doing the demo. And I'll say this because we're all human beings, right? And so I actually, let me just stop sharing a slide for a moment here. So I actually pushed back to both Willem and to Alan and Kathy, and a little bit to my group of co-trainers, co-presenters last Thursday when we did the dry run. I said, why me? Why am I doing this? But shouldn't it be Willem doing this? And many of you who joined this conference day are probably like, why isn't Willem doing this part? And I'll say, and this is something I really do appreciate. And this is about Willem. I can't see him on the screen right now, but it's that Willem's answer to me was, this is not a Willem Lammers Day. This is a conference, Logosynthesis conference and celebration day. And this speaks to the community and to Willem and to how I'm not a fan of gurus, and as a master, Willem, and this is my appreciation to you, is that the generosity in the sharing, but also in the fact that this community is growing. And as I said, it's a very supportive community. And I just wanted to explain that part because I am not the most experienced trainer here, and yet my colleagues have put me in this position. So I also want to say that our process doesn't stop. I'm here as we're all humans, and I need to do some homework in order to sit here and be okay with the fact that I'm doing this part. So I just want to share that because it is personal and the process doesn't stop, right? So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite you to join me in a process, and I'm going to share slides again. There we go. Okay, so now this is a point in time where I am going to invite you to experiment with me, especially for those of you not familiar with logosynthesis, but I would actually invite everyone to experiment. And my invitation, first of all, is to park whatever you know or don't know. So park, and again, something else I really appreciate about logosynthesis is you don't, or actually I should say, might be challenging for people who are new to logosynthesis, both as a client, but also as guides, is that it functions in a potentially different way than you're used to, in that you do not need to know a lot. And it's actually better to put aside your mental models, whatever you believe, aside, and just literally experience it. One of the difficulties I've found is trying to explain how logosynthesis works, because it's one of those things, like I like to use the word chocolate because I live in Switzerland, we have chocolates, or a good glass of wine. As you try to explain it to someone, it's really hard. It feels abstract or sounds abstract. So the most important thing is to actually experiment it. So that's my hope, that in the next bit of time, you will be able to experience it yourself with a group demo, as well as in the observation of the live demo one-on-one. See it in action. So this group demo, what I will do is, and I want to be also clear here, logosynthesis is not a meditation. So this group demo, you'll see the difference between the live and the group demo. Here, I am going to ask you to close your eyes or focus your attention somewhere so that you can go inwards. I'm going to walk you through a process. I will show the sentences on the screen. If you need to refer, they will be on the screen. And otherwise, I simply ask you to follow my instructions. Okay. So I would invite you to, we're all muted, so that's good. And I'll ask you to close your eyes if you wish, or just follow, take your focus inwards and just take a few breaths, just to come into the present moment with me. Okay. Today's the 11th of January, 2021. So it's still fairly fresh into the new year. And I am going to invite you we're going to take a little bit of a time travel and go back over 2020. And just experiment, play, and see what happens for you. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do is take your mind and do a review of 2020. And so you're going on a mind travel, and maybe it's like a movie as you go back over 2020. And what I'm going to ask you to look out for are situations or incidents, anything that comes up for you, which you would consider was a good experience, where you felt good. And so my invitation is simply to not force, simply allow whatever shows up. It could be in form of an image, it could be in form of scenes, it could be a memory, it could be faces, it could be people, it could be voices, sounds, whatever it is. It's what we would call representations of something that happened in 2020, which you felt was a good experience. All right, so you might want to go back in time, like January 2020, February, or just allow it to happen. I'm just going to give you a couple of moments to do that. Just notice. It's really just about noticing what shows up for you. And it's a good experience, which also means that you might, as you pay attention to what shows up, notice positive emotions, which are uplifting, where you have energy, where it's flowing. I'm going to ask you also to notice if these are images or sounds, where they might be in your personal space. And what I mean by that is we all have our personal space beyond our body, and it might be that these representations are showing up in front of you, behind you, to the left, to the right. And if they're images, they might have color or black and white. So you're just paying attention to these details. And as you do so, notice your physical and emotional reaction as you kind of relive these experiences. Where in your body are you feeling something? How are you feeling? What are your emotions? Just notice as these good experiences pass through your mind's eye in your space. Okay. And then perhaps with a thank you for these gifts, these good experiences, I'm going to ask you to imagine now there's a blank screen in front of you, like we're a blank canvas and we're about to enter a next step. And now I'm going to ask you to review 2020 again. And this time, I'm going to ask you to invite and see what shows up for you in terms of experiences which cause some form of distress or stress or duress, where it was unpleasant. And just notice here what shows up, who shows up, how it shows up, where it shows up. Again, it might be like a movie, it might be people, might be scenes. Just notice. And these are situations or representations which are unpleasant. And as they show up, and I invite you to also notice your reaction this time in your body and in your emotions. And then I'm also going to invite you to imagine there's a box. And there's a box, you can give it a name, you can give it a color. It's a box. And what's happening is these images, these sounds, these representations of these incidents, these experiences, which were unpleasant, they're going into this box. So keep noticing what comes up for you and let them go into this box. This box is big enough to hold all of it. And then I'm going to ask you to imagine when you're ready to put a lid on this box. Okay, so this box now, the lid is holding all those unpleasant experiences from 2020, all the ones you're aware of or perhaps even less aware of. And then I'm going to ask you to notice the level of or your reaction to these experiences. When you think about all of them and notice your physical reaction and your emotional reaction. And on a scale of 0 to 10, and 10 is the highest, I'm going to ask you to give the level of distress a number. So 10 is the highest in terms of distress, 0 to 10. How high is the distress level as you consider this box full of these unpleasant experiences from 2020? Just make a mental note of that number. And now I'm going to speak the 3 sentences. So I will read them, I'll speak them to you one by one, and all you need to do is repeat after me out loud. You're all muted, so no need to worry. You just repeat, and I'm really going to ask you to just park whatever you have in terms of thoughts. No need to analyze, no need to understand even what you're saying. Just speak the sentences out loud for me. I will have them on screen just in case it's not clear or you want to see what you're saying. Okay, but simply follow and trust. All right, the first sentence. So repeat after me out loud. I retrieve all of my energy bound up in this box, and I take it to the right place in myself. All right, and now all you need to do is let the words sink in, let the words work for you. There's no need to think. Just breathe and relax. And we're going to take a few moments before we continue. So just let the words work for you. Okay, I'm now going to give you the second sentence again. Just repeat after me and out loud. And again, no need to think. I remove all non-me energy related to this box from all of my cells, from all my body, from all my personal space, and send it to where it truly belongs. All right. And again, here, just let the words work for you. You do not need to know where it goes. You don't need to know anything. Just let them sink in. All you need to do is breathe and relax. Okay. I am now going to offer you the third sentence. And again, I will ask you to just repeat after me out loud. I retrieve all of my energy bound up in all of my reactions to this box. And I take it to the right place in myself. And once again, just let the words sink in, let them work for you. No need to think, no need to know anything. Just breathe and relax. And when you're ready, before you open your eyes, I'm just going to ask you to notice the difference when you consider this box now and these memories and representations that are in this box, holding these experiences that were unpleasant in 2020. What's your reaction now? Physically, what do you feel emotionally? And on the scale of 0 to 10, where 10 is the highest in terms of distress and 0 is none at all, where are you now? Just make a mental note of that. And I will be asking you to share those numbers in the chat. Just notice the difference. What's the difference that you're noticing, both in terms of the number, but also in terms of your reaction? What's shifted? And I will invite you to drink water. As you open your eyes, I will stop sharing screen. And I will invite you to share the numbers from the beginning. So where did you go from the two numbers in the chat? And anything else that you experienced, if you wanted to share in the chat. We'll just have a quick look. You can all see the chat as it flows and see, what people are sharing. Just notice. Now we had a mathematician here. We could count all the first numbers compared to the second numbers, because what typically happens is it goes down. So we can see 62, 7 to 0, 62, 8 to 1, 7 to 3. Okay, you can scroll down. Lovely. And there's no judgment and expectation around this. So I want to be also very clear about this, pressure to perform here, including myself. It's really just about noticing, right? So, okay. Let me do a time check here. So Q&A comes at the end. So I'm not going to invite, questions at this point, but feel free to comment if you wish in the chat in terms of what you noticed apart from the numbers. I'm happy to see that. Somebody wrote, of course, I remember what I put in the box, but there's acceptance. It went from 8 to 2. One of the words when we talk about logosynthesis is we identify energy bound or not bound, and we localize by where is it in the space. This time we put it all in a box, and then we neutralize. And the word neutral is one that I come across so often in terms of describing how one feels. Okay, great. Thank you for all the sharing.